चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, राम हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So as per our practice, we'll start with Leelamrita and then we'll take up today's verse. It was left at yesterday at page number 495. I'll start it from the place where it was left. Ravindra Swarup was walking down Sekil Avenue on his way to the Swami's morning class when an acquaintance came out of the Gem Spa, candy and news store and said, "Hey, your Swami is in the newspaper. Did you see?" "Yeah," Ravindra Swarup replied, "The New York Times." "No," his friend said today, and he held up a copy of the latest edition of the East Village Other. That seems to be some newspaper. The front, the front page was filled with a two-color photo of the Swami, his hand folded decorously at his waist, standing in yellow robes in front of the big tree in Tompkins Square Park. He was speaking to a small crowd that had gathered around, and his disciples were at his feet. The big people of Street Brigade formed a silhouette behind him. Above the photo was a single heading, Save Earth Now, and beneath was the mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Below the mantra was the words, See Centerfold. That was the whole front page. Ravindra Swarup took the newspaper and opened it to the center, where he found a long article and a large photo of Swamiji, with his left hand on his head, grinning blissfully in an unusual casual movement. His friend gave him the paper, and Ravindra Swarup hurried to Swamiji. When he reached the storefront, several boys went along with him to show Swamiji the paper. Look, Ravindra Swarup handed it over. This is the biggest local newspaper. Everybody reads it. Prabhupada opened his eyes wide and read aloud, Save Earth Now. And he looked up at the faces of the boys. Umapati and Hayagriv wondered aloud what it meant. Save Earth Now. Was an ecological pun? Was it a reference to staving off nuclear disaster? Was it poking fun at Swamiji's evangelism? Well, said Umapati, after all, this is the East Village other. It could mean anything. Swamiji is saying the truth, Kirtanan said. We are trying to, Prabhupada replied, by Krishna's grace. Methodically, he put on the eyeglasses he usually reserved for reading the Bhagavatam and carefully appraised the page from top to bottom. The newspaper took incongruous in his hands. Then he began turning the pages. He stopped at the centerfold and looked at the picture of himself and laughed. And then he paused. Study the article. So, he said, read it. He handed the paper to Hayagri. I'll stop it here. Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita ki jai. Let's glorify Srimad Bhagavatam before we take up today's verse. नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तना हृदयंस्थोय भद्राणि विद्नोति स्वेत्सताम् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी यत्कीर्तनं यत् श्रवणं यदीक्षणं यद्वन्दनं यत् स्मरणं यदर्हणं लोकस्य सद्यो विध्नोति कल्मषं तस्मै सुभद्रश्रवसे नमो नमः निम्नगानां यथा गंगा देवानाम् अच्युतो यथा वैष्णवानां यथा शंभु पुराणानां इदं तथा सर्वशास्त्राब्धि पीयूषा सर्ववेदैक सत्फला सर्वसिद्धांत रत्नाद्या सर्वलोक सदा सर्वभागवत प्राण श्रीमद्भागवत प्रभु अलीध्वांतोदितादित्या श्री कृष्ण परवर्तते परमानंद पाठाय प्रेम वर्षाय अक्षराय ते सर्वदा सर्वसेयाय श्री कृष्णाय नमस्ते मदेक बंधु मत संगिन मत गुरो मन महाधन मन निस्तारक मत भाग्य मत आनंद नमस्ते असाधु साधु दादाइन अति नेचोजता कर आना मुंचा कदाचिन मां प्रेमणा हृत्कंठोस्फुरा यस्य वैश्वयमाणायां कृष्णे परम पुरुषे भक्ति उत्पद्यते पुंसा शोको भयापः. So today's verse is from Canto 4, chapter 28, verse number 3. काल कन्यापि भूभुजे पुरंजन पुरम बलात् ययाभिभूता पुरुषः सद्यो निसारतां यात् काल कन्यापि भुभुजे पुरंजन पुरम बलात् ययाभिभूता पुरुषः सद्यो निसारतां यात् काल कन्यापि भुभुजे पुरंजन पुरम बलात् ययाभिभूता पुरुषः सद्यो निसारतां यात् काल कन्यापि भुभुजे पुरंजनम पुरम बलात् ययाभिभूता पुरुषः सद्यो निसारतां यात्. काल कन्यापि भुभुजे पुरंजनम पुरम बलात् ययाभिभूता सद्यो निसारतां यात्. काल कन्यापि भुभुजे पुरंजन पुरम बलात् ययाभिभूता पुरुषः सद्यो निसारतां यात्. जी काल कन्यापि भुभुजे पुरंजनम पुरम बलात् ययाभिभूता पुरुषः सद्यो निसारतां यात्. काल कन्यापि भुभुजे पुरंजनम पुरम बलात् ययाभिभूता पुरुषः सद्यो निसारयाम यात्. Whatever translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Whatever translation. Kal Kanya, the daughter of Kal, Api also Babuje took possession of Puranjanpuram, the city of Puranjan, Balat by force, Yaya by whom, abhi, abhibhuta, being overwhelmed, purushaha, a person, sadhya, immediately, nisartam, uselessness, yat, gets. Translation. Gradually, Kal Kanya, with the help of dangerous soldiers, attacked all the inhabitants of Puranjan city and thus rendered them useless for all purposes. At the fag end of life, when the invalidity of old age attacks a man, his body becomes useless for all purposes. Therefore, Vedic training dictates that when a man is in his boyhood, he should be trained in the process of brahmacharya. That is, he should be completely engaged in the service of the Lord and should not in any way associate with women. When the boy becomes a young man, he marries between the age of 20 and 25. When he is married at the right age, he can immediately beget strong, healthy sons. Now, female descendants are increasing because young men are very weak sexually. A male child should be born if the husband is sexually stronger than the wife. And if the female is stronger, a female child will be born. Thus, it is essential to practice the system of brahmacharya if one wishes to beget a male child when one is married. When one reaches the age of 50, he should give up family life. At that time, one's child should be grown up so that the father can leave the family responsibilities to him. The husband and wife may go then the husband and wife may then go abroad to live a retired life and travel to different places of pilgrimage. And both the husband and wife lose their attachment for family and home. The wife returns home to live under the care of her grown-up children and to remain aloof from family affair. The husband then takes sannyas to render some service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the perfect system of civilization. The human form of life is especially meant for God realization. If one is unable to take to the process of Krishna consciousness from the beginning, from the very beginning of life, he must be trained to accept these principles at the fag end of life. Unfortunately, there is no training even in childhood, nor can one give up his family life even at the end. This is the situation with the city of Puranjan, figuratively described in these verses. Mukum karoti vachalam pangulangayate girim, yat kripata Muhammadne Shri Guru Deen Dharan. As we heard in the second paragraph of the purport by Srila Prabhupada writes that if one is unable to take to the process of Krishna consciousness from the very beginning of life, that means Prabhupada is recommending or strongly saying that the Krishna consciousness should be taken up at the beginning of the life, at the start of life. That is what Prahlad Maharaj says to his demonic friend in 7th canto, chapter 6, verse number 1. Komarachret pragyo dharman bhagavatan ih durlabham manusham janma tad apya adhruvam arthadam. Prahlad Maharaj says, O son of demons, they were his schoolmates as we know. He says that Komar Acharit, right from the beginning of life, one should take up to Bhagavat Dharma, devotional service. Pragyo, if one has sufficient intelligence, then he should take up the process of Krishna consciousness or devotional service right from the beginning of his life. Why? Durlabham Manusham Janma. Because The human form of life is very rare to get. Even though tadape, adhruvam, it is impermanent, but it is arthadam. It is very useful because in the human form of life only, we have the opportunity to engage ourselves in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. The in the Vedic uh, civilization, the life up to 16 is divided in 4 stages. 0 to 6 is Kaumar, 6 to 10 is Pogand, and 10 to 16 is uh, Kaishor, and from 16 onward, it is youth. Krishna is youth at all times. Let's say that the schoolmates of Prahlad Maharaj says that why we should engage ourselves in the service of the Lord. Prahlad Maharaj replies, because that Supreme Lord is very dear to every living being. Prahlad Maharaj says, Yathai Pushyasyeha Vishnu Padap Sarpanam Yad Yadesh Sarvabhutanam Priya Atmeshwara Swarit. Here Prahlad Maharaj is listing of three great qualities of the Supreme Lord. He is Priya. He is dear to every living being. Sarvabhutana. Yadesh Sarvabhutana. Priya. And then he is Atmeshwara. He is the one who is staying closest to the living being, sitting in our heart, as we know from Bhagavad Gita. Sarvasya chaham hridaya sanna Vishnu. And then he is Suhit. He is friendly. He is uh, loving for every living being. Suhit. That's what uh, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, last verse, 29, verse number 29. Bhoktaram yagn tapsam sarv lok maheshwaram suhil sarv bhutanam gyatva mam shantim rach. If one wants to attain peace, then he has to know only three things as per the verdict of Krishna. And that is what? Bhoktaram yagn tapsam. Krishna himself is saying that I am the supreme enjoyer of all austerities and sacrifices. Bhoktaram means supreme enjoyer. Yag tapsam, all the sacrifices and austerities. This is first thing. Sarvalok Maheshwaram, I am also controller of all the planetary system. Every space is under my control. Sarvalok Maheshwaram. Then Suhrit Sarvbhutana. I am also friendly and beneficial to all the living beings. So Gyatva Mam, just by knowing this about me, you will attain the peace. Gyatva Mam Shantim Rachati. At this stage, let's say that the demonic friend of the schoolmates of Prahlad Maharaj, they say that we are so young. Why are you engaging us in the devotional service? Why should we not make some effort to, to engage ourselves in a worldly affair or so that we can earn some money and have a good living? We can be happy. We can make some, instead of making endeavors in devotional service, why should we not earn some money and then thereby we can get happiness by satisfying our senses? Prahlad Maharaj says, Sukham Andrikam Daitya, Deh Yogen Yoginam, Sarvatra Labhate Devat, Yatha Dukkham Ayatanata. The word Ayatanata is very significant in this word. Yatan means endeavor, Ayatan means not making endeavor. Prahlad Maharaj says that Sukham Andrikam Daitya, the the pleasure or happiness which you want through the the sense gratification, they will be awarded to you, they yogen yoginam, according to your past life, whatever karmas you have done, whatever fruitive activities you have done, you will get result of that, and you will get your share of pleasure accordingly. They yogen yoginam. Sarvatra labdate devat. By the will of providence, they are available in every planetary system and every place. Even I was reading in third canto, Lord Kapil explaining to Mother Devhuti, and I was little stunned to read. The inhabitants of hellish planetary systems, they also don't want to give up their body, so attached to the body and so attached or so used to enjoying sense gratification that they do not want to give up the body. So I think this is what Prahlad Maharaj is confirming, that Sarvatra Labte Devat. Then last part of this verse is even more important. Yatha dukkham ajatanta. Like we get miseries without making effort. When we get up in the morning, we never say to Krishna that it has been very long. I haven't had headache, or I haven't had any toothache. Why don't you give me some toothache? You never make such a prayer. Nobody makes. But then we still get. Why do we get it? Because this is as per our quota of happiness and pleasure. So therefore, Prahlad Maharaj is advising that we should make efforts to engage ourselves in the service of the Lord instead of making futile efforts of earning happiness, because happiness will come as naturally as the distresses come. And thereafter, there are very beautiful verses speaking about the reality of our existence. But today, I'm going to touch another aspect, which is spoken by Prahlad Maharaj in the first verse. Komar Achret Pragyo Dharman Bhagavatam. What is Bhagavad Dharma? Dharman Bhagavatam. The general understanding of these two words is devotional services to the Supreme Lord. But there is also a clear definition of Bhagavad Dharma, which is also known as Sanatan Dharma, Eternal Dharma, Nitya Dharma, Shashvat Dharma. By so many names it is known. So there is a definite, as I was saying, there is a clear definition of the word Bhagavad Dharma. And this question is raised, what is Bhagavad Dharma, at various points in Srimad Bhagavatam. To know that particular definition of Bhagavad Dharma, let's go to Canto 11. Canto 11 gives us a clear definition of Bhagavad Dharma. It so happened that when Krishna was performing his beautiful pastimes in Dwarka, Narad Muni used to visit Dwarka quite frequently. And he used to stay there for more than normal time of his stay. Why? Somebody may say that since he was a preacher and he was also under the curse of Daksh, Prajapati Daksh. As we know, Narad Muni had transformed 11,000 sons of Daksha, Prajapati Daksha, into devotional service. Whereas Daksha had instructed them, they were in two lots of 10,000 and 1,000. First, Narad Muni converted them into devotional service for the 10,000 sons, and then when Daksha produced another set of 1,000 sons, Narad Muni also converted them into devotional service. Prajapati Daksh wanted those sons to get married and expand the population of the world. But Narad Muni found that they were suitable for devotional service, so Narad Muni converted them. Because of this act of Narad Muni, Prajapati Daksh became very angry and he cursed Narad Muni that you do not stay anywhere for more than 3 days. If you stay there, you will convert people into devotional service, you will spoil their life. So at that time, Daksh Prajapati had different kind of view. And I heard from my Guru Maharaj that even Srila Prabhupada once said that this curse of Daksha is also affecting me, as Srila Prabhupada said. Because I'm not, when he started the Krishna conscious movement, Srila Prabhupada was also not staying for more than maybe a couple of days or maybe a week or 10 days. And I see that even our current day sannyasis, they are also affected by the curse of Daksha Muni. They are also working very hard and not staying at a place for more than a week or 10 days, 3 days. So coming back, why Narad Muni was visiting frequently to Dwarka? Was he trying to get some rest after moving around and preaching? Or was he trying to enjoy the opulences of Dwarka? Because of the presence of the Supreme Lord, Krishna, there was all around opulences in the city of Dwarka. No, none of these. The purpose of frequent visit of Narad Muni was Krishna Upasan Lalasa. He wanted to be with Krishna and he wanted to worship him. The verse says, Govind Bhuj Guptayam Dwarvatyam Kurudvaha Avatsin Narado Bhikshnam Krishna Upasan Lalasa. Narad Muni was more interested, or rather, only purpose was to be with Krishna and worship Krishna, being very attractive. So on one such occasion, in one of his visits, he went to the palace of Krishna's father, Shri Vasudeva. And when he went there, he was offered proper respect, sweet words, seat of honor by Vasudevji. And then Vasudevji inquired from Narad Muni, what is Bhagavad Dharma? When he asked, Narad Muni smiled. Even when Vasudevji got the highest benediction of being the father of Krishna, even then he wanted to know Bhagavad Dharma. Here a question may arise that we have been trained to understand that a moment of association with a sadhu is good enough to get the perfection of life. As we hear from Chaitanya Charitamrita, sadhu sang sarv shastra khay, love mat sadhu sange sarv siddhi hoy. Even for a moment of association with the sadhu is sufficient to get the perfection. But then why Vasudevji was saying that I want to know about the Bhagavad Dharma. This is explained in the next two verses. First, Vasudevji says, Brahmam tathapi prachamo dharvan bhagavatantam yad yan shutva shraddhaya martyo muchyate sarvato bhayat. Vasudevji says, O Brahman, I ask you, prachamo dharman bhagavatantam. I want to know from you what is Bhagavad Dharma. Yan shutva shraddhaya martyo. By hearing that Bhagavad Dharma with faith, shraddhaya. Martyo, by people who are subject to death. Sarvato muchyate bhayat. All types of fears are ceased. Now, coming back to the point that when we are when we are given to understand that moments of association with the sadhu is sufficient, then why Vasudevji is raising this question? He is seeing topmost devotee of the Lord, Naraji, he is Acharya of Bhakti. Why is asking? This is answered in the second word of the verse. Brahman tathapi prachhamo. Tathapi. Srila Prabhupada has kindly translated this word into nevertheless. It says that Vasudevji said, even though I am fully satisfied by seeing you, nevertheless I want to know. So what is the Bhagavad Dharma? Naraji, when he heard this question, he smiled. Look at this person who has got a closest relationship with Krishna, being his father, and still he is desiring to know the Bhagavad Dharma, to engage himself in the devotional service. As if Vasudevji sensed Narad Muni's question in his mind as, as to why I'm asking this question, Vasudevji says, Aham kil puranantam prajartho bhuvi muktidam apujyam na mokshaya mohito dev maya. Allured by the beauty of Krishna and his uh, attractive personality, in my previous life, Aham kil puranantam, puranantam is previous life, I desired to have him as my son. And I got it. But I denied myself the opportunity to worship the Supreme Lord. Apujyam, apujyam, uh, apujyam namokshaya. Mohito dev maya. Why? Because I was bewildered by the illusory energy. But actually, Vasudevji was raising this question for our benefit. He was already there where he should have been. When Narad Muni heard this, Narad Muni did not give immediately his opinion. There's a beauty. This is the beauty of Vedic civilization. When any question of importance is raised, the speaker generally tries to give answer from what he had heard previously. The speaker will not say, "Oh, this is my opinion. I think this is what Bhagavad Dharma is," or "I think it is in this way." But speaker tries to quote as much as possible to the previous conversation or previous incident. So here also, Narad Muni agreed to explain about the Bhagavad Dharma from the conversation between Nimi Maharaj and Nav Yogeshwar, as we know. Nav Yogeshwars were nine sons of Lord Rishabdev. Lord Rishabdev had 100 sons, and nine became topmost transcendentalists known as Nav Yogendra or Nav Yogeshwar. And one became very famous, King Bharat, who even after getting married, he got into devotional service. And 81 became top class Brahmanas engaged in intuitive activities, and nine and the whole of the Bharatvarsh was divided into 9 parts, and they were given the places to rule over. So these 9 Yogeshwars, they once visited the sacrifice of Nimi Maharaj. Nimi Maharaj organized a sacrifice, fire sacrifice, for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. And in that sacrifice, many great sages appeared, and also by their own will, the 9 Yogeshwars also appeared in that sacrifice. When they appeared, when they visited there, they were given proper respect by all present there. And at that time, when they were fully settled, Nimi Maharaj also asked about Bhagavad Dharma. You see, this is very important phrase, it has been raised at to the best of my knowledge at least 2-3 places in Bhagavatam. In the conversation between Yudhishthira Maharaj and Narad Muni, also this question was raised. And we have already heard too between Vasudev and Narad Muni, and now it is between Nimi Maharaj and 9 Yogeshwars. The, the name of the 9 Yogeshwar are as like this: Kavir, Havir, Antriksha, Prabhuddha Pipalayana, Avirhotro Tha Dhumil, Chamasya Bhajana. The only word which comes in these names is Ath. Otherwise, these are named in that order only in which they're going to speak. In that sacrifice, Nimi Maharaj asked 9 questions, and these were replied one by one by all these 9 Yogeshwaras. So the first question was asked by Nimi Maharaj was, what is Bhagavad Dharma? So Nimi Maharaj says, Dharman Bhagavatan Brut, Yadi na Shute Shamam, Yavai Prasanna Prapannaya, Dasya Atmanam Api Aja. Nimi Maharaj says that Dharman Bhagavatan Brut. Brut means please say, please speak. What is Bhagavad Dharma? Yadi na Shute Shamam. If I have capacity to hear, this gives us a lesson to how to ask questions when we are in the assembly of devotees and we want to address a question. Nimi Maharaj is putting it very humbly. He's saying that if I'm qualified to hear the answer, then only you speak. If I'm not qualified, then don't speak. Yadi na shute shamam. Yahi prasanna prapannaya. Bhagavad Dharma, by which the Supreme Lord, Aja, the last word comes Aja. Dasya Atmanam, Dasyatya Atmanam Api Aja. The unbound Lord becomes pleased when one takes his shelter through the devotional service. And so much so that he offers himself as servitor to the Supreme Lord. I want to know that Bhagavad Dharma. Now it is the turn of Kaviji, who is the first speaker among 9 Yogeshwaras. He says, now before that, Kaviji explains the benefit of following the process of Bhagavad Dharma. Kaviji starts, Manne kutasit abhyam achutasya padam bhujopasanam atra nityam udvigna buddhir asat bhavat vishvatmanaya nivartate bhi. Bhi means fear. Kaviji says, Manne kutasit abhyam achutasya. If one wants to get rid of the fear which is arisen from misidentifying one with the body, asat atma bhavat. And because of this misidentification, his intelligence is always agitated. Udvigna buddhir asat atma bhavat. Vishvatmana yat nivartate. If one wants to get rid of this fear, he has to take up to the devotional service of the Lord. Padam bhujo pasanam atvitam. He has to worship the Supreme, the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. I like chanting this verse, so I want to repeat it again. Manne kutasyat abhyam achutasya padam bhujopasanam at nityam udvigna buddhir asat bhavat vishvatmanaya nivartate bhi. Now, having said that, Kaviji is now coming to the point to explain what is Bhagavad Dharma. Kaviji says, ये वही भागवता प्रोक्ता उपाय है आत्मलब्ध है anja pumsam avidusham vidhi bhagavatan hitan. Very simple. The Bhagavad Dharma is one which is spoken by Lord Himself. And in that, He is giving the upaya. Upaya means means. Upaya hai atma labdaya. Bhagavad Dharma is that which is spoken by the Lord, Yavai Bhagavata Prokta, in which Lord is saying the means to attain Him. That is Bhagavad Dharma. Upaya hai atma labdaya. Anja pumsam avidusham. Anja means easily, and which is performed very easily by persons. Avidusham, even if someone is dull-headed, he is not intelligent. Avidusham. Vidusha means very intelligent. Avidusha means unintelligent. Vidhi Bhagavatan. Be it known, this is the Bhagavad Dharma. Putting it in again, what is Bhagavad Dharma? The means pronounced by the Supreme Lord in which He gives direction to attain Him. That is Bhagavad Dharma, and which can be performed even by unintelligent people. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has given this uh, instruction how to attain Him. And that instruction, of course, there are many verses which contain instructions from Krishna. But there's one particular verse which is, I'm 100% sure you all know. And you have heard it, you have read it. And this is the only verse which has been repeated in the Bhagavad Gita. Which is that verse? Man mana bhavad bhakto majyaji mam namaskaru mamaveshyasi yuktvayam atmanam matparayana. This is a verse which is spoken when half of the Gita was finished in terms of number of the chapter. Last verse of 9th chapter. And when full Gita was about to be finished, again Lord repeated it. Again he said, Man mana bhavad bhakto majyaji mam namaskaru mamaveshyasi satyam te pratijane priyosi me. And what he said, Krishna, to attain Him, and that's why he is saying at in both the verses, Mam eveshyasi, you will come to me by how? By doing man mana mad bhakto. Engage your mind in me. Mad bhakto, be my devotee. Man mana mad bhakto, man mana bhav mad bhakto, majyaji, worship me. Mam namaskaru. And then he is saying that you will definitely come to me. Mami Satyam te. I'm saying truthfully. Krishna saying to Arjuna, believe me, because they were good friends also. So sometimes Arjuna used to accuse Krishna that you are a big liar. So here Krishna is clarifying, even though I sometimes lie, but at this moment I'm saying very truthfully. And even that would have been sufficient. But Krishna further says that I promise, Pratijane Priyosi me, because you are very dear to me, you will come to me. Now, we may think that when he says that man mana mad bhakto, is it so easy to engage one's mind? While we are standing in the temple, we are thinking sometime of what we have to do in the job. So it is very hard. Then he says, Mad Bhakto. Someone may say that I am already doing bhakti of my wife, my boss, my so many other. Oh, it's not possible. Give some other option, let's say. Then Krishna says, okay, worship me. Oh, it's also very difficult. How can I come and worship you? Then Krishna gives, okay, just Mam Namaskaru. Just pay your obeisances to me and you will come to me. Somebody may also think that, do we have to do all these four things? No, only one of them is sufficient to go back to the Godhead. The last option, Mam Namaskaru. On this, a very strong comment from Padam Puran. Padam Puran says, Sakrit Pranami Krishna se Matu Strinyam Pibe Nahi. If Sakrit means only once, if only once one offers his namaskar or obeisances to Krishna, he doesn't have to drink the breast milk of her mother. In other words, he won't have to take the birth. And then there is another statement which says that Dash Ashmedhi Punar Eti Janam Krishna Pranami na Punar Bhavaya. A one who has done 10 horse sacrifices, he will have to come back in this world again to enjoy the fruit of his sacrifice. But if one has offered namaskar to Krishna or paid obeisances to Krishna, na punar abhavai, he doesn't have to take birth again. So that is the importance of offering obeisances to Krishna. So I think that's all I have to say on Bhagavad Dharma today. I hope it made some sense. And we all the devotees sitting here, they are already doing all these activities as is instructed by Krishna. And hopefully you all will go back to Godhead. That's all I have to say. Amal Puran Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki. If there is any comment or realization one wants to add, please feel free. Yes, sir.
Prabhuji, thank you very much for the wonderful class. Prabhuji, you were talking about Bhagavad Dharma, and you were talking about how Narad Muni was visiting Vasudeva, and then Vasudeva asked the question, and then the answer that you gave for Bhagavad Dharma was, you mentioned Kavi said. So is that answer given by Narad Muni, or is that given by somebody called Kavi? Or are they the same personality you're talking about?
Thank you for asking. First question was raised by Vasudevji to Narad Muni. Narad